Hi there, my name is Tim Cornish, and today's lesson is called Great Depression. To people old enough to remember, the darkest era in modern history began on Tuesday, October 19th, 1929. That date will be forever known as Black Tuesday, the unofficial beginning of 10 years of hard times called the Great Depression. A depression is the term used to describe a period of unusually poor economic conditions. When a depression occurs, businesses and industries reduce production and close factories to help fight declining profits. Then, as people lose their jobs, less money is pumped into the economy and it slows down even more. The Great Depression was caused in part by the financial collapse of the American stock market in the late 1920s. Throughout the decade, nicknamed the Roaring Twenties, North America grew rich and prosperous. World War I had ended in 1918, and the outlook for the future was bright. People had jobs and money, and many invested wildly in the stock market with the hope of earning huge fortunes. In October 1929, however, that outlook changed. On Black Tuesday, the stock market crashed, and millions of investors saw their savings wiped out by a sudden drop in the value of their stocks. The economies of the once rich nations of the world began to weaken. People could no longer afford to buy goods, and factories started closing down. Thousands of people found themselves out of work, and poverty and hunger began to spread across the continent. When the Great Depression hit, Canadians were unprepared. The country was already in massive debt over the building of the Canadian National Railway. In a nation of 10 million people, over 1.5 million could not find work and wound up on government relief. Those who had jobs often slaved for long hours with poor wages. Even though the price of goods was low, 6 cents for a loaf of bread, 8 cents for a pound of beef, unemployed families could not afford to buy them. In addition to economic collapse, some of the worst weather ever to strike Canada's prairie farmland occurred during the Great Depression. Severe drought in the West destroyed thousands of acres of wheat fields. Helpless farmers could only watch as the southern sections of 3 provinces turned to dust by the summer of 1934. The hot, dry winds of the drought season also caused blizzards of dust to whip across prairie cities. These dust bowls were followed by plagues of grasshoppers that could strip an entire farm in one day. Hailstorms did another $10 million damage in 1934. In the mid-1930s, nearly 40,000 families had lost their farms. Teachers and doctors were affected too, and many could be found working for food. Another 70,000 men became hobos, riding the railway across the country in search of work and food. In 1939, the suffering of the Great Depression era finally came to an end. On September 8, 1939, Canada joined the fight against Nazi Germany, and Canadians went back to work in plants and shipyards to aid the Allied war effort. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this today. Have a good day.